The Galactic Alliance was losing. Every battle, every plan, every defense, they all failed. The enemy came without warning, without mercy. A swarm of biomechanical horrors, known only as the Devourers, spread across the galaxy like a disease. They destroyed fleets. They burned entire planets. No species could stop them. The brightest minds of the Alliance worked day and night, searching for a way to fight back. Supercomputers ran endless simulations. Generals tried every strategy. Scientists tested every weapon. But nothing worked. The enemy was too fast, too smart, too strong. Now, the Alliance had no more answers left. Inside the war room of the Alliance command station, leaders from dozens of species sat in silence. The air was thick with fear. The massive holographic screen showed the latest battlefield report. Another fleet gone. Another world lost. Another billion lives erased. Supreme Commander Varzon, an elder of the auxiliary race, stood at the head of the table. His deep blue skin was covered in scars, his 4 eyes dim with exhaustion. He looked at his fellow leaders, his voice heavy with defeat. "We cannot win this war," he said. "The Devourers will reach the core systems soon. When that happens, it will be the end of everything." The room remained silent. No one argued. No one offered a solution. They had tried everything. Everything except one option. A soft voice finally spoke. It came from Counselor Rila, a frail-looking Seravan with silver skin and large, intelligent eyes. "There is one last thing we can do." All eyes turned to her. She hesitated, then continued, "We can wake them." The room tensed. Some looked shocked. Others looked disgusted. "No," growled High Marshal Korak, a hulking Vordak with armored red scales. "That is madness. You would doom us all." "They are our only hope," Rilov insisted. "They are monsters." Korak spat. "That is why we lock them away." "But they can fight," she countered. "Better than any of us. Better than all of us." A long silence followed. The humans. Once, they had been part of the Alliance. Once, they had fought alongside the other races. But they were different. They were unpredictable, dangerous. They did not fight like the other species. They did not follow the rules of war. When the last Great War ended, the Alliance decided humans were too much of a risk. Their aggression, their brutality, their hunger for battle, it was unnatural. They could not be controlled. So, they were locked away. A secret deal was made. The last remaining humans were placed in deep stasis, hidden in a sealed vault on a dead world. They would never wake again. Until now. Rilla stood, her voice urgent. "We have no choice. We are losing. The Devourers are unstoppable. But humans do not know the meaning of unstoppable. If anyone can defeat this enemy, it's them." Korak slammed a fist against the table. "And what happens when the war is over? What happens when they turn on us?" "They won't," Rilla said. "Not if we are careful." Varzon exhaled slowly. He looked around the room. "If we do nothing, we die. If we wake the humans, we might live. It is a risk. But it is a risk we must take." One by one, the leaders nodded. Some in agreement. Some in fear. Varzon turned to the command console. His fingers trembled as he pressed a single button. A message was sent to the deepest vault in the universe. The seals would soon be broken. The humans would rise again. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy would remember what true war looked like. The dead planet of Eridos 9 had been silent for centuries. No life, no movement, just endless dust and frozen winds. But deep beneath its surface, hidden inside an ancient vault, something was about to change. The Galactic Alliance's signal had arrived. Massive steel doors, sealed for hundreds of years, trembled as ancient mechanisms came to life. A deep, rumbling sound echoed through the underground chamber. Lights flickered on, cold, sterile white beams cutting through the darkness. The silence was broken by a mechanical voice. Stasis LOCK disengage ET. Human preservation chamber activating. Rows of cryopods lined the massive room, covered in frost. Inside each pod, a human lay perfectly still, frozen in time. They were the last of their kind, locked away by the very civilization that now needed them. One by one, the pods began to open. The first human to awaken gasped as air filled his lungs. His body shivered as warmth returned to his veins. His eyes, sharp and focused, flickered open. His name was Commander James Carter, and the last thing he remembered was a war that had ended centuries ago. He stepped out of the pod, muscles stiff but mind alert. Around him, others were waking up. Dozens of humans, all soldiers, all warriors. Their confusion lasted only a moment before instinct took over. A tall woman with short, dark hair, Lieutenant Sarah Briggs, shook off the frost and scanned the room. "This isn't right," she muttered. "We were supposed to sleep forever." Carter cracked his neck, his voice calm but firm. "Something woke us up." The humans turned as the main vault door slowly opened. A group of alien figures stood outside, hesitant, nervous. They wore the robes of the Galactic Council, their faces showing a mix of fear and desperation. One of them, a silver-skinned Seravan named Counselor Rila, stepped forward. She swallowed hard before speaking. "Humans, we need your help." Carter's gaze hardened. "Funny," he said, crossing his arms. "Last I checked, you lot locked us in here because we were too dangerous." Rila flinched but held her ground. "The galaxy is at war," she said. "A war we are losing." Briggs glanced at the others. The tension in the room was thick. The last time humans had fought for the Alliance, they were betrayed. After winning the war, they were labeled as monsters, too unpredictable, too violent, too powerful. And now, those same aliens had come crawling back. Carter's voice was ice cold. "Why should we fight for you?" Rilla hesitated, then took a deep breath. "Because if you don't, we all die." A heavy silence followed. Then, Carter stepped forward, staring straight into her eyes. "Tell me everything." The truth of the war. Minutes later, inside the vault's briefing chamber, the humans sat around a long table. The alien leaders stood at the front, projecting holograms of the battlefield. The images were brutal: shattered fleets, burning planets, billions of lives lost. The enemy, the Devourers, moved like a plague, consuming everything. No fleet had survived an encounter. No strategy had worked. "Their technology is advanced beyond anything we've seen," said Supreme Commander Varzon, his deep blue skin tense with stress. "They adapt to every attack. We cannot stop them." Carter watched the footage, his expression unreadable. He had seen wars before. He had fought battles against impossible odds, and yet something about this enemy felt different. "They think like a machine," Briggs observed. "They don't waste energy. No emotion, no hesitation. Just pure efficiency." Varzon nodded grimly. "Yes, and against them, we are helpless." Carter leaned back, deep in thought. Then he smirked. "Helpless," he said. "That's because you're thinking like politicians, like generals playing chess." He stood up and paced around the room. "This isn't chess," he continued. "This is war. And war isn't about following rules. It's about doing whatever it takes to win." The aliens exchanged uneasy glances. Briggs crossed her arms. "Let me guess. You've tried to outthink them, but they always see it coming." "Yes," Rilla admitted. "They predict our every move." Carter chuckled darkly. "That's your problem. You fight like cowards, like prey. But humans," he looked around at his people, eyes filled with something primal. "We don't fight like prey." A deadly silence followed. The meaning was clear. Humans didn't just fight. They hunted. Carter turned back to the council. "We'll help," he said finally, "but not because we care about your alliance." His smirk faded, replaced by something cold, something terrifying. We'll fight because this enemy. He gestured at the holograms. They just became the most interesting challenge we've ever had. Rilla felt a chill run through her. The humans were awake. The war was about to change. The Galactic Alliance's warships hovered in orbit over Eridos 9, waiting. Inside the sealed vault, the last of humanity had been awakened. And now, they were preparing for war. Commander James Carter stood in front of his soldiers, eyes scanning the room. The humans had been asleep for centuries, but they didn't look weak. If anything, they looked ready. Their muscles were tight with energy, their minds sharp, warriors born for battle. The alien leaders watched nervously from the side. Counselor Rayla, Supreme Commander Varzon, and High Marshal Korak stood together, unsure if they had made the right choice. The humans were awake, yes, but could they be controlled? Carter turned to them. "We need weapons," he said simply. Varzon hesitated. "We have advanced plasma rifles, energy cannons, and high frequency." "No," Carter interrupted. "We need our weapons." Rilla frowned. "Your weapons?" Carter smirked. "We fight differently than you." He gestured to his soldiers. "We don't just shoot from a distance and hope for the best. We adapt. We use every tool, every dirty trick. We fight to win." Briggs stepped forward. "Where are our old ships? Our old gear?" Varzon's face darkened. Much of it was destroyed. After the war, we thought it was too dangerous to keep. Carter sighed. "Of course you did." Korak, the reptilian Vordak leader, let out a deep growl. "You wake up after centuries and demand weapons like spoiled children. The Alliance is giving you a second chance. Show some respect." Carter turned to Korak, ice cold. "Respect. You locked us away because you feared us. And now you come begging for help." He took a step closer. "So tell me, Korak, who should be showing respect?" Korak bared his fangs but said nothing. The silence in the room was heavy. Finally, Rilla spoke. "There is something left. An old warship. One of yours. It's been hidden for centuries." Carter raised an eyebrow. "Take us to it." The sleeping giant. The journey to the secret location was short. A massive hangar floated in deep space, hidden in an asteroid field. As the human soldiers stepped inside, they saw it. The HSS Revenant, a massive black warship, scared from past battles but still intact. It was smaller than the Alliance's massive battlecruisers, but it didn't need size. It was built for speed, for stealth, for destruction. Briggs whistled. "I thought they scrapped her." Rilla spoke carefully. "It was ordered to be destroyed. But some of us thought it should be preserved." Carter ran a hand along the cold metal hull. "Smart choice." He turned to his crew. "Get to work. We're bringing her back to life." Within minutes, the humans moved like a machine. Engineers checked the engines. Weapons specialists activated the ship's hidden arsenal. The old AI system, codenamed Reaper, flickered to life. "Welcome back, Commander," the AI said in a smooth voice. "Shall we begin?" Carter grinned. "Damn right." The aliens watched, stunned. They had never seen such efficiency. The humans had been awake for mere hours, and already they were preparing for battle. Varzon stepped forward. "The Alliance will provide you with additional ships and soldiers." Carter shook his head. "No, your people fight like bureaucrats. They wait. They hesitate. That's why you're losing." Rilla frowned. "Then what is your plan?" Carter's smile was sharp. "Simple. We hit them first. The first hunt." The Devourers never expected an attack. For months, they had been winning, pushing forward, crushing everything in their path. The Galactic Alliance had always fought defensively, always reacting too late. But humans did not wait. The Revenant dropped out of hyperspace near a Devourer outpost. The alien station was massive, a floating fortress of metal and flesh, pulsing with eerie red lights. Thousands of enemy ships swarmed the area, unaware of the predator in their midst. Inside the Revenant, Carter stood at the command deck. His crew was ready. "Reaper," he said. "Status report. Stealth systems active. Enemy has not detected us." Briggs smirked. "Let's change that." Carter nodded. "Fire." The first attack came from nowhere. A silent missile streaked through the void, smashing into the outpost's shields. A second later, railgun rounds ripped through enemy defenses. The Devourers panicked. Their ships scrambled, trying to locate the attacker. But the Revenant was already moving, weaving through the chaos like a phantom. The humans struck again, targeting weak points, destroying key systems. The Devourers had fought many wars. They had faced thousands of species, but they had never faced humans. They did not understand this kind of warfare. One by one, their ships exploded. Rila and Varzon watched the battle from their own ship, stunned. "They fight like assassins," Varzon whispered. "They fight like hunters," Rila corrected. On the Revenant, Carter watched the destruction with cold satisfaction. "Let's send them a message," he said. "Patch me through." A signal was broadcasted across enemy channels. Carter's voice was calm, but deadly. "You don't know us," he said, "but we know you." His eyes gleamed with something primal. "You've been hunting the galaxy for too long," he continued. "Now, you're the prey." The transmission cut. The Devourers, for the first time in their existence, hesitated. And in that moment, the war changed forever. The battlefield was silent. Wreckage from destroyed Devourer ships drifted through space, their broken remains glowing dimly in the aftermath of the attack. The HSS Revenant floated among the debris, hidden in the darkness, its weapons cooling. For the first time in history, the Devourers had lost. Commander James Carter stood at the command deck, his sharp eyes scanning the battlefield. His crew worked around him, silent, focused. No one cheered. No one celebrated. Because the war had just begun. The enemy reacts. Across the galaxy, the Devourers' hive mind processed the attack. Their strategy had always been perfect. No species had ever surprised them. No species had ever hunted them. But now, something had changed. The humans had not fought like prey. They had not run. They had not defended. They had attacked first. Deep within the Devourers' command core, a signal pulsed across the hive. Their perfect logic analyzed the battle, searching for an explanation. The humans were weaker. Their numbers were small. Their technology was primitive compared to the Devourers' living ships. And yet, they had won. The hive did not feel fear. It did not feel rage. But it did understand one thing. Humans were a problem that needed to be eliminated immediately. A new order spread through the swarm. Find them. Hunt them. Eradicate them. The next move. On the Revenant, Carter and his officers studied the enemy's response. The Devourers were regrouping. More ships were coming. Briggs leaned against the console, arms crossed. "They know we're here now." Carter smirked. "Good. Let them come." Varzon's face appeared on the holoscreen. The Supreme Commander of the Galactic Alliance looked tense. "That was reckless, Carter. You just woke a sleeping giant." Carter shrugged. "Your mistake was thinking the giant was asleep in the first place." Rilla stepped forward. "What's your plan now?" Carter's smile faded. His voice turned serious. "The Devourers will hunt us. That means they'll send scouts. We'll let them track us." Briggs raised an eyebrow. "You want them to follow us?" Carter nodded. "We'll lead them into a trap, but we need a battlefield we control." He turned to the holomap, scanning through systems. Then he pointed to a distant, abandoned sector. "The Graveyard of Titans." Rilla's eyes widened. "That place is a war zone. A dead system filled with wrecked ships from 100 battles." Carter grinned. "Exactly. We'll turn it into a killing ground." Luring the hunters, hours later, the Revenant jumped into the Graveyard of Titans. The system was filled with floating wreckage, massive battlecruisers from wars long forgotten, shattered defense stations, and ruined colonies. Carter's team got to work. Using scavenged weapons and explosives, the humans turned the wreckage into traps. Hidden mines, electromagnetic pulse bombs, plasma turrets buried in debris fields. Briggs wiped sweat from her forehead as she finished rigging an old warship with explosives. This better work. Carter checked his rifle. Oh, it will. And then they waited. The battle begins. Hours later, the enemy arrived. 5 Devourer scout ships, sleek and organic, slithered into the system like silent predators. They scanned the area, searching for the Revenant. Carter watched from the bridge. Wait for it. The Devourers moved closer, closer. Then, boom! A hidden mine exploded, tearing through the lead scout ship. In an instant, the entire battlefield came alive. Plasma turrets fired from the wreckage. EMP blasts disabled enemy shields. The humans struck with deadly precision. Briggs and a squad of soldiers launched from the Revenant in small attack crafts, weaving through debris, hitting enemy weak points. Carter's voice rang over comms. Hit them hard. Hit them fast. The Devourers fought back, but they were confused. Their sensors malfunctioned. Their ships crashed into hidden traps. They had never fought in a battlefield designed to destroy them. One by one, the enemy ships exploded. And then, silence. Carter stood on the command deck, watching the flames die in the void. The first wave was gone, but he knew more were coming. Briggs landed back on the Revenant, breathing hard. That was just the scouts. The real fleet won't fall for the same tricks. Carter nodded. Good. His eyes burned with cold fire. Let them bring their fleet, he said. We'll show them what war really means. The silence of the graveyard of Titans did not last long. Sensors on the HS of Revenant flared to life, warning of incoming ships. The real battle was about to begin. Commander James Carter stood on the bridge, his expression calm, but his eyes sharp. The first Devourer scouts had fallen into the trap, but now the real enemy was here. Briggs checked the readings. 50 ships, maybe more, heavily armed, and they're coming in fast. Varzon's voice crackled over the comms. Carter, this is suicide. You cannot fight that fleet alone. Carter smirked. We're not fighting them head-on. We're making them fight our way. He turned to his crew. Everyone to battle stations. This is it. The Revenant powered up, its engines humming with energy. Hidden weapons across the battlefield activated. The humans were ready. And then the enemy arrived. The Devourers attack. The sky burned as the Devourers entered the battlefield. Their ships were massive, pulsing with dark energy, their organic hulls shifting like living creatures. The largest of them, a Dreadmother, loomed in the center of the fleet. It was a warship and a hive combined, a monstrous thing that had devoured entire planets. Inside its twisted core, the hive mind observed the battlefield. It expected resistance. It expected the humans to run. But the humans did not run. They struck first. The ambush. The Revenant unleashed its first attack, a barrage of railgun rounds and high-explosive torpedoes. The weapons tore through enemy ranks before they even realized what was happening. Hidden plasma cannons buried in the wreckage fired, ripping apart smaller enemy ships. Mines detonated, sending fire and debris in all directions. The Devourer fleet panicked. Their ships twisted and turned, trying to dodge the unseen attacks. But the humans had planned everything. Every wreckage field, every asteroid, every abandoned station had been turned into a weapon. The battlefield itself was a trap. Fighting like demons. Carter's voice rang over comms. Briggs, take your squad and flank them. Hit their supply ships first. Briggs and her team launched in fighter crafts, weaving through the debris, striking at weak points. They moved with deadly precision, destroying the Devourer's smaller support vessels. Meanwhile, the Revenant darted through the chaos, striking from the shadows. Its stealth systems flickered, making it appear and disappear like a ghost. Every time the enemy tried to lock onto it, the ship was already gone. Varzan and Rila watched from their own ship, stunned. "They fight like demons," Varzan whispered. "No," Rila corrected, her voice filled with awe. "They fight like humans." The Dreadmother moves. The Devourers were losing ships fast. Their confusion was turning into desperation. And then, the Dreadmother acted. A deep, monstrous hum filled the battlefield as it activated its primary weapon. Dark energy gathered at its core, pulsing like a heartbeat. The space around it warped, bending under its power. Carter's eyes narrowed. "What the hell is it doing?" Reaper, the ship's AI, responded. "Warning. Unknown energy signature detected. Massive gravitational distortion incoming." A beam of pure destruction erupted from the Dreadmother. Cutting through wreckage and striking one of the old warships, the entire structure collapsed into itself, crushed by immense gravity. A black hole. Briggs cursed. "They're using gravity weapons now." Carter gritted his teeth. "They're done playing." The battlefield was shifting. The traps were working, but the enemy was adapting. The humans were outnumbered. If they stayed too long, they would be overwhelmed. Carter made a decision. "Reaper, prepare emergency warp." Reaper hesitated. "Commander, our exit path is compromised. The gravity well is destabilizing space." Carter turned to Briggs. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" She grinned. "We hit them where it hurts." Carter activated the ship's comms. "All units, focus fire on the Dreadmother. We take it down. We win." The final strike. The Revenant charged forward, dodging enemy fire, heading straight for the massive enemy flagship. The Devourers fired everything they had. Plasma blasts, energy beams, missiles, but the humans did not stop. Carter's voice was steady. "Load the Hellfire torpedoes." Reaper confirmed. Torpedoes armed. Target locked. The Dreadmother prepared to fire another gravity weapon. Its core pulsed, ready to unleash destruction. Carter waited. Not yet. The energy built up. Not yet. The Devourer ship opened its weapon ports. Fire. The Revenant launched its final attack. Hellfire torpedoes streaked across space, glowing bright as they slammed into the Dreadmother's core. For a second, nothing happened. Then, boom! A massive explosion ripped through the enemy warship, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. The gravity core collapsed, and the ship imploded, tearing itself apart from within. The Devourers panicked. Their hive minds screamed in confusion. Their greatest weapon had fallen. And the humans kept fighting. Victory, for now. With their flagship destroyed, the Devourer fleet began to retreat. The hunters had become the hunted. Briggs let out a breath. "We did it." Carter didn't relax. Not yet. The Revenant turned, escaping the battlefield as the wreckage of the enemy fleet burned behind them. The war wasn't over. But tonight, the galaxy knew fear. And the humans, they were just getting started. The battlefield was silent once more. Wreckage from the destroyed Devourer fleet drifted through space, illuminated by the burning remains of their mighty Dreadmother. The warship had been their strongest weapon, their ultimate predator. Now, it was nothing but debris. On the HSS Revenant, the crew was exhausted but victorious. The battle had been brutal, but they had won. For now. The aftermath. Carter stood on the command deck, staring at the battlefield. His crew moved around him, checking damage, treating the wounded, and securing the ship. Briggs wiped sweat from her forehead. "We just took down a whole damn fleet." She let out a tired laugh. "I didn't think that was possible." Carter smirked. Neither did they. Rilla and Varzan appeared on the holoscreen. Varzan, the Supreme Commander of the Galactic Alliance, looked stunned. "You actually did it." Carter crossed his arms. "Told you we would." Varzan's expression turned serious. You don't understand. The Devourers don't lose. Ever. You just did something no species has ever done. Rila, the scientist, looked more concerned than relieved. That's the problem, she said. Now they know humans are a real threat. Briggs frowned. You think they'll come back? Rila nodded. Not just come back. They'll send everything they have. The room fell silent. The Devourers had never needed an all-out war before. Their usual tactics, quick strikes, planet-wide hunts, had always been enough. But now they had an enemy they needed to destroy completely. Damage and decisions. Reaper, the ship's AI, interrupted. Commander, the ship has sustained critical damage. Shields at 23%. Weapons at 40%. We are not battle-ready. Carter exhaled. We need repairs. Varzon hesitated. The Alliance has repair docks, but after this battle, many will be afraid to help you. They don't want to provoke the Devourers. Briggs slammed her fist on the console. Are you kidding me? We just saved their hides. Rela sighed. Fear makes people stupid. Carter thought for a moment. We don't need the Alliance. We need a place to lay low and fix our ship. He pulled up a star map and pointed to a distant system. Caliban's Rest. Briggs blinked. You want to go to a pirate stronghold? Carter smirked. Pirates don't ask questions, and they have the parts we need. Varzon sighed. This is insane. Carter grinned. Welcome to humanity. A dangerous haven. Hours later, the Revenant arrived at Caliban's Rest, a hidden space station floating in the shadow of a dying star. The station was old, patched together from stolen ships and scavenged tech. It was home to mercenaries, smugglers, and criminals from across the galaxy. As the Revenant docked, Carter turned to Briggs. Keep the crew on alert. No one here is our friend. Briggs smirked. Not yet, anyway. The docking bay was filled with rough-looking aliens, all staring at the human warship. They had heard the rumors. They had seen the battle reports. The humans had taken down a Dreadmother. Now, everyone wanted to know what kind of creatures could do that. A tall alien with cybernetic arms stepped forward. His voice was deep and rough. Commander Carter, I've heard about you. Carter tilted his head. That depends. You looking to sell me something or shoot me? The alien chuckled. Maybe both. Deals and dangers. The humans needed supplies, weapons, and repairs. The pirates had all of it, but nothing came for free. The pirate leader, Drex, leaned back in his chair as he studied Carter. So, you made the Devourers angry. Carter nodded. Very. Drex grinned. That's impressive. And stupid. Briggs rolled her eyes. Are we here for compliments, or can we talk business? Drex chuckled. Fine. You need repairs, and I need something in return. Carter sighed. Of course you do. Drex pointed to a holoscreen, showing a heavily guarded transport ship. That ship is carrying something very valuable. I want it. You get it for me, and I'll fix your ship. Briggs crossed her arms. And if we refuse? Drex shrugged. Then you better hope the Devourers take their time finding you. Carter smirked. Fine. We'll get your package. But as he looked at the mission details, something felt off. Something about this deal was wrong. The enemy moves. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Devourers were not sitting idle. Their hive mind processed the loss. Their rage grew. The destruction of the Dreadmother had changed everything. For the first time in their history, they were truly afraid. And fear made them dangerous. A new order spread through the swarm. No more hunting. No more waiting. They would bring their full force. Thousands of warships began to move. Their destination. The last known location of the humans. The air inside Caliban's Rest was thick with smoke and the stench of oil, rust, and bad decisions. The space station was a maze of dark corridors, flickering lights, and shady figures watching from the shadows. Commander Carter and Briggs stood in Drex's private chamber, studying the holo display of their next mission. A heavily armored transport ship floated in the projection, escorted by 2 gunships. "That's your target," Drex said, sipping a drink that smelled like battery acid. "It's carrying something very valuable." Carter crossed his arms. "What's inside?" Drex grinned. "That's not your problem." Briggs narrowed her eyes. "If we're stealing from someone, we need to know who." Drex's grin widened. "Oh, it's not someone. It's the Galactic Alliance." Silence. Briggs swore under her breath. "You want us to rob the people we just saved." Carter exhaled. This was exactly the kind of mess he didn't want to be in. "You want repairs." Drex leaned forward. "Then you do this." Carter exchanged a glance with Briggs. They had no choice. He nodded. "Fine. We'll get your package." Drex clapped his hands. "Good choice, Commander." The heist begins. Hours later, the HFY Revenant approached the target ship. The transport was slow but well protected, moving through deep space under heavy guard. Carter's plan was simple. Use stealth to get close. Disable the escort ships. Board the transport and take the cargo. Get out before anyone knew what happened. "Reaper," Carter said. "Cloak the ship." Engaging stealth mode. The Revenant disappeared from enemy sensors. Briggs grinned. "Time to work our magic." The attack. The moment they got close, the Revenant struck. Railguns fired, taking out the first escort in seconds. The second gunship turned to respond, but Briggs and her fighter squadron swooped in, unleashing a storm of laser fire. Within moments, both escort ships were dead in space. Carter led a boarding team onto the transport. They blasted their way in, weapons raised. Inside, the ship was eerily quiet. Too quiet. Briggs frowned. "Where's the crew?" They moved through the corridors, weapons ready. Then, thud. Something heavy hit the walls. Then another. Then a scream. Carter's stomach tightened. They weren't alone. The horror inside. They reached the cargo bay. The massive doors slid open. And what they saw froze them in place. The crates weren't full of weapons. They weren't full of gold or technology. They were full of bodies. Humans. Hundreds of them. Frozen in cryostasis. Briggs took a shaky step forward. "What the hell is this?" Then something moved. A figure stepped from the shadows. It wasn't a devourer. It wasn't a pirate. It was an Alliance officer. A woman with sharp eyes and a cold expression. Her uniform was pristine, her hands resting on a plasma pistol. "I was wondering when you'd show up," she said. Carter aimed his weapon. "Who the hell are you?" She smirked. "Commander Lorna Vasquez. Galactic Intelligence." Briggs pointed at the frozen humans. "What's going on here?" Vasquez's smirk faded. "These people," she said, "are humanity's last hope." The truth revealed. Vasquez gestured toward the frozen humans. "This isn't just cargo. These people were handpicked. Scientists, soldiers, leaders, the best of humanity." Carter narrowed his eyes. "Why are they frozen?" Vasquez sighed. "Because the war is already lost." Silence. Briggs shook her head. "No, we won the last battle." Vasquez laughed bitterly. "You think that was a victory? The Devourers weren't trying to win. They were testing us." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "They've mobilized their full fleet, thousands of ships, and they're coming." Carter's grip tightened on his weapon. "And your plan was what? Run away?" Vasquez's face hardened. "Yes." Briggs scoffed. "Coward." Vasquez didn't flinch. "Survival. The Galactic Alliance decided that if humanity was doomed, at least a few of us should survive. So they gathered the best, froze them, and planned to send them beyond the galaxy, somewhere the Devourers wouldn't find them." Carter clenched his jaw. "And they didn't tell the rest of us." Vasquez shook her head. "Would you have accepted it if I told you that fighting was useless?" Briggs muttered, "Damn politicians." Carter looked at the frozen humans again. This was it. This was the backup plan. A future where humanity didn't fight, it just ran. He turned back to Vasquez. Not happening. Her eyes narrowed. What? Carter raised his weapon. We're not running. We're taking the fight to them. Vasquez sighed. You don't understand. Carter cut her off. No, you don't understand. We just killed a dreadmother. We can win this war, but not if we're too busy hiding in cryopods. Briggs stepped forward. We're waking them up. Vasquez exhaled, looking between them. Then, finally, she nodded. Fine, but if we do this, there's no turning back. Carter smirked. There never was. He tapped his comms. Reaper, prepare for extraction. We're bringing these people home. Understood. Then the alarms blared. Incoming enemy ships. The Devourers had arrived. Carter grinned. Perfect timing. The end.